Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Today's Weather Tonight. Here, as much as I can be, I am your meteorologist for the evening, Cloud Hudson. And we are going to not only talk about tonight's top vibe stories, but talk about the top weather and vibrational stories that have come in the past week. Because since last week's new moon and Venus Cazimi, the weather and the electronic weather, the soul plane weather, the physical landscape change weather, all of it has been changing. The weather's changing. It's of course, it's always changing. That's its constant state is change, but been a little bit challenging for a lot of people. I think there's been a lot of burnout energy, a lot of just we're tired of this severe weather season. I think a lot of meteorologists are tired of the severe weather season, and we're only just now starting our hurricane season. I mean, not really even started that yet. And people are burnt out from constant states of rescue and survival mode out in there's even been tornadoes here in Austria. There have been more volcanic eruptions, more earthquakes all over the place. So let's go ahead and start by reviewing our volcanoes. Now, sorry, I clicked onto a new tab and I saw headlines and I'm like, oh man, there's so many headlines. You just can't get to them all. I try to filter the headlines. I bring y'all through the filter of what can I be the most relevant with right now. What just happened? What just happened? All right. Now I've got volcanoes up. Let's show that to you on the stream. Not exactly doing an ASMR episode tonight, but I am trying to not push myself to have too much energy so that we can get through this without burning out. Not get through this. We're not just getting through this, so we can savor the time it takes to comprehend this update. So the last time I talked to y'all was on the 6th. We had quite a bit of volcanic activity already starting then. We had the recent map of the Kilauea volcano eruption update. We also had more images of the White Island volcano down in New Zealand. I didn't mention our other ones that I know are big headlines. So let's see what we had on the 7th. Lewitobi down on there on Flores. Volcanic ash eruption, so did Fuego. Volcanic ash plume reached 190, flight level 190 or 19,000 feet. And Sabancaya had continued weak emissions. Then as we get into Sunday the 9th, wait, I didn't click on the 8th yet, did I? That was the 7th. Yesterday, the 8th. Looking at the same players here. Okay, San Cristobal in Nicaragua had a volcanic cloud observed on webcam. We ceased to see activity out of Nevado del Ruiz down in Colombia. And let's go to the 9th. Because I was expecting, yes, okay, I was expecting the Reykjanes Peninsula, the lava has continued to flow out of the currently erupting crater, formerly known in the last eruption as the one and only crater. It has continued to spit out lava at a pretty constant rate, smaller than when the eruption started, but again, not looking like uh, it is not losing ground. In fact, it's gaining ground. Lava has resumed effusive activity. It's been 11 days since eruption began. The lava continues to leak from the main spatter cone, sending multiple streams of molten rock towards Silingafell at the northwest, from where it's branched off into two other lava arms. In the attached Sentinel-2 false color visualization, the southerly oozing lava seemed to have stopped keeping the flow active and or travels through the lava and remains hidden. Fade the Grindervikerveg main road. Meanwhile, construction work started on closing the gap in the defensive wall beginning early in the morning and was completed before the lava reached the road. So we see the work on the berm or the retaining wall around Grindavik. And you see over here, this is where the lava crossed the road that you would be able to access this berm through. So fortunately, they were able to buff up those defenses before access was cut off by this crossing of lava. And you can see as lava flows over the paved asphalt road, there are different chemicals in the road than there are in the surrounding terrain. So there are slightly different off-gassing products when the lava crosses the road. Or at least that's, to my extent of knowledge, that's what I know to be true. Here is a beautiful image of the avalanches and lava dome at the Merapi volcano. So Merapi continuing to really pop off right there. Satellite image of Dukono has continued to show activity. Let's see. The extrusive eruption of the volcano Merapi in central Java, Indonesia, consists at heightened levels. Previous southwestern and southeast lava domes continue to grow as viscous magma rises up and piling there. Unstable, loose lava material makes both lava domes prone to partially collapse. Therefore, accumulated lava and large dome blocks tend to undergo gravity and turn into tumbling hot incandescent rock falls. So the lava melts the container it's in, and the container adds to the volume of lava, and that heats up and can further explode through the new hole in the side. Turns into tumbling hot incandescent rock falls. Fully melt near molten dome and race over steep slopes down the edifice. Ash plumes and dust separating from block and ash flows. Okay, so this is what a phoenix cloud is: a ash plume, and dust separating from block and ash flows, accompany pyroclastic flows. All right. Yeah, we have two. Merapi in Central Java and Merapi in Sumatra, Indonesia, continues to have a separate explosion. Volcanic ash advisory centers have observed ash emissions up to flight level 110. Let's see. San Cristobal continues its own ash emissions, so it is new on our big players list. And then into the 10th. Looks like we are looking at the same players. Again, with Mount Semiru popping into our awareness again. So, 10 minutes of talking about volcanoes. That is a lot, and I glossed over a lot. So, between going through our volcanoes and our earthquakes, I would like to talk about what's happening on Kagari Island in Australia. That is this video right here, thanks to the Weather Channel and their sources for the imagery. What's happening is called a near shore landslip. Yeah, that's it. The shoreline is crumbling into the ocean. It's like, it doesn't look that scary when you see the size of the people standing next to it. Like, it doesn't look like the big cliff. But when you realize that this change in elevation is due to huge changes in the lower natural coastal processes, it's a scary sight. It's a scary sight to see the end of the ocean just sink into the ground. The ocean just eating up the entire beach. But this is an area it's not uncommon for in here. It's just a really striking story visually. But this is a place you're not allowed to camp overnight because you could just get swallowed up by a sinkhole. Australia is a wild place. This is in Queensland. This is in this area. This is Kagari Island. It's in an area of lots of protected wildlife areas over here in Queensland in Australia. So let's free up our memory. Oh, and here's some more great footage of the lava engulfing the road over in Iceland, thanks to the Associated Press. And I know one of their sources in here is Marco DiMarco, and he's a fabulous nature photographer who I have a feeling BBC didn't pay him correctly because they actually lost their footage due to rights reasons. I am completely making that up, but like I think who else would have had such awesome footage and taken it away from the BBC? Anyway, this is video of those crews acting, like actively working right next to it. Yeah, so flows of up to kilometer per hour, which is, you can't stop it once you're at it. You can only build in front of it. You can't really push lava back. So seeing it move at least 1 kilometer per hour is still got to be a really scary sight. This is super engulfing the area. I don't know how the Blue Lagoon is still open with all these volcanic ashes and, honestly, a lack of access to streets and beaches that they would normally have. I don't know what they're doing over there other than trying to get tourist money. Let's go ahead and take our what's our oldest? The 6th, I think. Yeah, this is the 6th through the 9th. Look how many earthquakes we've had that are just 3s and above. This looks like a normal day of my 1s and 0s turned on. But we've had a little cluster of over 3 magnitude earthquakes in the California, Mexico, Juan de Fuca fracture zone, San Andreas fault zone. Over the past 3 days, you can see the cyan colors are the oldest, the gray is in the middle, and the red are the most recent quakes, but none of these are the brightest red that it could be. These happened on the 9th. Yeah, so this stack of 3s down here off the Baja Peninsula, they happened at the 9th. The 4.4 up here happened yesterday on the 8th, and that was in Northern California. 4.2 here, where the subducting plate that is the Juan de Fuca fracture zone meets the area that we're calling the San Andreas Fault. Those have been a lot more active than usual, kind of looking like our southern coast of Mexico right now, which is another very active area with many 3s and 4s going off pretty recently as well. Looks like the older ones are down here in Central and Southern America, and these are all looking at like 9 to 10 kilometers deep. But as we go into Mexico and get into the more mountainous regions, the quakes don't hit until the deeper depths of like mid-range, 30 to 40 kilometers depth. And over here near Puerto Rico Trench, we've got a ton of over 3.0 level earthquakes. They are kind of concentrated between the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico right now, and looking at pretty deep depths, like 108 kilometers depth, 101 kilometer depth. See what else we got. 30, 20. This 4.2 out here was at 63. So yeah, we had some pretty substantially deep quakes at decent magnitudes over in Puerto Rico. As we got this momentum from within, or resonance response to the same electromagnetic pulse, or whatever thing you think is driving slippage between the plates, all the weather inside of the earth, whatever's driving the weather systems inside of the earth. Looking at the earthquakes is kind of like looking at one wavelength on the sun, where we can tell that there is something percolating below, but we can't see that storm itself. We only see the effects of the storm when it gets to us. Have a 4.8 out here, followed by a cluster of a was deep. That was the shallow, and this was only 10 kilometers deep. A shallow 6.2 out here. Nothing else getting very deep on the Pacific Antarctic ridge. But that is also in a little, look at it, peak of a mountaintop type of point. Also at a 4.5 at 10 kilometers depth over there, maybe associated with that, maybe not. We also see some scattered depths and ranges of quakes here in South America, in the Bolivia, Chile, Argentina borders region. There's 120, 124 kilometer depth, 163 kilometer depth looks more recent. The older one was at 80 kilometers. The oldest one here is at 4.9 kilometers depth. So those all marching through South America right now. We also have a cluster of quakes in the South Sandwich Islands region, which is a hot spot as well for, like, if you see quakes down here, that is one of the areas you're going to see it. Really all over the Antarctic border, like the border of the Antarctic plate, with every plate it touches, except for the plate that touches. I don't see anything on the Indo-Australian plate right now, but it's touching the one that touches the African plate, touching the one in the Atlantic plate, the one in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge interaction region. We've also got one here in the Central Pacific. Even as we get closer to the West Pacific, we had that 4.5. And as we get into the West Pacific, we get our really deep quakes. We're looking at 200 kilometers depth, 5.1s and 4.8s. But then, and also, these are all deep here in the Tonga region. Where's this surface? A surface 5 right close to there as we get over towards Fiji. So, the Tonga Islands, first little crash of wave, Fiji Islands, second little crash wave. Then as we get down into the Kermadec Islands, that's when we start getting towards New Zealand. And then up here, where we have the 4.4, that's the Vanuatu Islands region. So then we get into our Indonesia and Philippines island chain. Here is where we've seen a lot of geo unrest. We've seen a lot of earth movement here in Papua New Guinea recently, both deep and on the surface. That's what a landslide is. It's basically, I mean, it's not necessarily driven by the same things, but a landslide is a really, really sloppy earthquake if you think about it as moving the same medium. They're totally different types of storms in the geosphere, but they are movements of matter. 5.3 at 163 kilometers depth is pretty deep, but close to Jayapura, so I wonder if anybody felt that there. We've also got a smattering of both deep and shallow mid 4s to upper 5s here. We also had a 3.5 in Australia itself. So far, Indonesia's side of things, calmer. The Philippines side of things is where we're getting more of the quakes attenuated right now. 4.5, 4.7, 4.8, and all at pretty deep depths. Then as we get up into Japan, we've got a 4.3 and 4.6 at, woo, buddy, this 4.3 is the one that's at 223 kilometers depth. The 4.6 is a lot closer to the surface. This 4.4 and 4.1, those are at 477 kilometers depth, a really deep quake coming out of the Marianas Trench area, or the Mariana Islands area. The trench is like the peak, but here, right smack dab in the middle, well, it's not actually in the, had the wrong coordinates on that one. That took me to somewhere in California. Okay, yeah. i.e. Japan, or just north of Naha. Here in the southern islands of Japan, that was a 45 kilometer depth, 4.4. As we go up into the Kuril Islands and into the Aleutian Islands, we see more stacks or more stepping stones if you zoom out and look at them evenly spaced there. 4.5, 2, and 3. And then getting into the 3s more as we go into Alaska, because let me just remind you that there are so many tiny quakes happening in Alaska, California, and Hawaii. And Greece, apparently, too. Let's take it back to our larger quakes so that we can make some sense of this map. Oh, there's also a top of the world quake. So in addition to bottom of the world, we've had top of the world quakes. We've also had quakes up here in Mongolia and Russia. Like, let's see. This is in Russia, technically. That Russia-China border. We're looking at, I mean, it's giving me sources in Russia and they don't tell you where it is. But all of these 3 evenly spaced. First one up here, next one over here, then 2 right here. As we get into the Himalaya mountains, we also see swaths of 4 coming in and bouncing around this bowl full of jelly. Remember that we're seeing this in chronological order of blue first and red last. So our in the middle days, we've had some over here in India as well, where they have seen a heat wave recently. So 4.2, 4.0 at moderately shallow depths, actually. And then some southern Iranian earthquakes, as well as a 4.3 in Turkey, a few 3s in Greece. But then remember that when we turn on our lower, oh my God, even just 2s and greater, there are a lot of 2s here in a lot of 2s here in, see if I can find the deep one. in Greece. Not really popping out. What if I turn my... I want all... of Greece, 74-kilometer depth, 3.4. And that is 10 kilometers southwest from Kea. Very interesting. So let me put back on all kilometers depth. There we go. Because I was looking at deep ones. Where did my... there was one. Oh, yeah, here. This 5.1. Back on the 5th. I don't know if I remembered to mention this on the 6th, but there was a African earthquake here as well. So, yeah, and when I pull out more, zoom out time-wise, you can see that this 4.5 and 4.6 happened on basically either side of Iceland. I kind of want to see what Iceland is reporting for itself right now. But yeah, as I said, there was a landslide in New Guinea. Oh, there's a... Let's see if there's a explanation. Oh no, this is just a video clickbait. Yeah. Friday's landslide in Papua New Guinea displaced at least 2,000 people. What was I going to do? Oh, look at the Icelandic. No, not that. I wanted to look at Icelandic earthquakes because I don't have the Icelandic earthquakes set up on a... No, that one's not going to pull it up either. Let's go to Icelandic Met Office anyway. Okay. Really low earthquakes, actually. Very little. Show you guys. This is shocking. Well, I mean, there are a lot more along the entire ridge, along the entire mid-Atlantic ridge that divides the island, but really not that many in our active eruption zone. I don't even see them coming out into the ocean very much. But we do have the active eruption. Grindavik went under lava for the 3rd time since volcanic activity started. The lava field is about 800 meters away from the hot water pipeline. So remember last time it went under lava, it exploded some hot water pipelines, and they had to repair that and be able to get hot water from the geothermal plant in the Svartsengi area to the rest of the peninsula. Well, fortunately, the hot water pipes haven't burst yet with this crossing of the road, but that is always a possibility. Here's a good satellite image from June 5th showing the lava tongue dispersing on either side of these barrier walls. So you can see that they are doing a very good job. Both the ones that go along the north side of the Svartsengi power plant and Blue Lagoon area, and the ones that envelop the city of Grindavik. Now, this road right here is one that, of course, this one is crossed. This one is kind of kaput now. But this is one of the roads that they have been trying to protect with the berm wall kind of successfully. There's also areas here where we might be having some crossings. So, This is the first incidence that land subsidence was measured in the Svartsengi area during the eruption. So finally, the inflationary area near Svartsengi has gone down a bit. Their analysis reveals that the composition of magma currently reaching the surface is different from that of the last 4 eruptions at the Sudnuka crater, instead resembling magma from the beginning of the eruption in Geldingadaler. 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 Geldinga are between possible to definitively state the nature of these changes. More data will be collected and analyzed in the future, allowing clearer interpretation of this evolution. That is an exciting update to me. I know that sounds crazy for that to be exciting, but it is very exciting that this isn't just the same pumping in and pumping out system. This is actually possibly new masses of lava that are working their way through this conduit. So is this maybe going to be a more continuous eruption because this is now a site of easy access for, magma? It's quite an interesting update. They really buried the lead in that one, in my opinion. Yeah, new rock composition in the magma. That's big, I think. Okay, now that we're back on our web page, let's go ahead and take a look at, this is when I usually like to look at the Schumann resonances, but I will also pull up Zoom Earth right now because we seemed to have, and I've got my Schumann resonances on my computer here. I'm going to go over to it's going to let me call up Tomsk, Russia. Yeah. Okay. Let's go radar. Notation in the west. Maybe. Well, okay. So this is the system that was passing through Tomsk and doesn't look very productive right now. But the Schumann resonance data that comes out of these observation stations does get slightly interrupted by storms because they will create these whiteout conditions on the sonograms. But I think a better indication of what the Schumann resonances are doing during a thunderstorm is what happens to our power levels and frequencies. So you can see in the past day, maybe a little bit, 2 days, there hasn't been much rain action in Tomsk, but which is the little dot in the middle of the screen right now. So we can't blame our data. I mean, there is lots of clouds, yes, but we're not seeing anything that indicates big storms. These look like decent motions, decent atmospheric motions that wouldn't cause much more than passing influence. But as we see some very periodic, big charging up of different levels of the Schumann resonance modality bands. But what I think is more important is looking at the frequencies of the Schumann resonances with that. Like when you see these big charge ups that also coincide with frequency drops, I have a feeling that means that these are also Schumann resonance activities that are not just outweighed by the weather polluting the data. This is not just the weather noise on the bands. This is actually something that's happening. So with that, we can see that our frequency is pretty high, actually, considering the fact that we did have some charging up on our sonogram. These don't look like. I mean, this is a good condition for the resonances to have high frequencies, but because the amplitudes, the amount of power that they are delivering are fairly low right now. You can even see on the days where they're that high on our amplitudes that we went in. Laptop, I have a Chromebook so I can run apps, and there is a Schumann resonance app. I'm going to put myself in double mode here so that we can look at this. Okay. So this is actually you're going to kind of see my desk here, which is gross, but the bulk of the activity we got in the Schumann resonances in Cumiana, Italy, has been in the past day, whereas back on the 6th, we are looking at kind of a charge up. We had one inflationary event on the 6th, but really in Italy right now, we're looking at some high activity. So let's see what's been going on in Italy. And wouldn't you know it, it is actually raining in Italy. Pinpoint, where's Cumiana? In Torino. Okay, so they have actually had some alpine storms, some summertime rain passing through the area. The base, good question. The base frequency of mode 1 of Schumann resonances right now is measured at sitting right around. Currently sitting right above 8 hertz. And the average that we have, the average Schumann resonance mode 1 frequency is 7.83 hertz. So we are a little bit higher frequency right now than usual, but our mode 2 is really down. Makes me wonder if we've got a power surge in mode 2. Usually the ELF will show me. I don't really see that. I mean, maybe. See if the amplitude shows it. The amplitude doesn't really show a particular jump in mode 2, why its frequency would be so decreased, while the other frequencies seem to be increased from their average. But something about mode 2 is lower right now. Maybe our alpha brainwave, mode 2 goes with your alpha. So maybe that has a bit of a compensating factor when everything else's frequency is so high. I don't quite understand what's going on there. But many people don't understand what's going on with these resonances. We just notice that they are there and that they change. Kind of like your basic elementary understanding of the weather and day and night. We understand that it's a cycle that happens that we can see. And it takes a long, long time and a lot of science, culture, and passed down oral traditions of observing natural cycles in order to observe what these mean. So it's no shocker that we had such high Schumann resonance activity out of Kumiana today, because that is a good hefty storm that passed through the area. Let's see. But yeah, in the past, let's see. I want to go to the history. Back on the 6th, on the 5th and 6th, we saw some really high values moving through Tomsk, and I think that is due to the storm that passed through. Yeah. I should just bookmark these places. Right here. Well, on geosciences, because it is such a chaotic medium that it's really hard to study something while taking the weather into account. Because it's such a large, complex, uniting system, it's really hard to recreate in vitro or inside of a lab. And it's also really hard to isolate in situ or outside of the lab in nature in this situation. Really interesting arc of clouds up here too, kind of going along where we see these thermal anomalies. But again, the thermal anomalies that are shown here are not always live, and the machine observed. But yeah, we see a lot of cloud cover moving through the area, which cloud cover isn't the same as a thunderstorm, but it's not great for the cleanliness of the data. We've seen also quite a periodicity in the Tomsk data. Let me go back to my thing to make sure I'm showing you the right thing on my, can't see the reflection. I want to be able to show this to you in a, maybe if I, yeah, there we go. That kind of, will we focus? Yeah. Sorry, I'm showing a screen from a webcam, but it slows down my connection so much to dual broadcast from this laptop and my computer. But yeah, so this is showing 3-day stripes at a time. This is today's reading. Yesterday, and kind of progress across the screen as I go backward in time. And this burst goes all the way back to the 6th. And this is the weather we had in the interim time between my last broadcast and now. We had the 6th, 7th, and 8th. Each of them showing their own daily peak, I guess, around late afternoon, which also could be related to weather. I think this is why we need to study the Schumann resonance's relationship to weather systems more, because I think that we would be able to. I know it does look like a sonogram without the baby. That's funny. We're the baby. This is the sonogram of the Earth, where we're the baby inside of the fluid. This is measuring the waves. A sonogram. This is a sonogram of the atmosphere. We're measuring the waves. The amniotic fluid, aka our atmosphere, is the amniotic fluid of the baby that is the Earth inside of it. I know that is so metaphorical for people who prefer science, or clerical, sanitized science, but actually, that's kind of a misnomer. Clerical sanitary science is not complete data. You have to remember that in every observation. In every experiment, in every set of research, there are assumptions that are made, and the assumptions are part of the information presented. You need to say that this is the information we observed given these assumptions. Okay? The assumption is part of the worldview. And even if the assumption isn't completely true, you still need to honor the fact that the assumption was made as part of your research process. Okay. And a lot of the assumptions I make on this channel are that I assume that it is important to observe all the different layers of vibrations that we can in order to notice patterns between them. I don't think I talked about weather yet. I kind of skipped that because I was so excited about the Schumann resonances. But let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got going on in the planes right now, because we do have 3 mesoscale discussions up. Got 2 for flash flooding possible, and 1 possible and 1 likely here in Colorado, New Mexico, and Panhandle of Texas. Then we've also got a severe thunderstorm watch mesoscale discussion. This mesoscale or mid-latitude cyclone, it's cyclolysis stage, it's cyclolysis, however you like to say that word, the death of the storm phase, because we see that the occluded front has moved past the center of circulation, and the area where the warm and cold front in this cyclone are interacting is created an area of well-established occluded front between the interaction region and the center of the low. Basically, this is a layered cake that is slumping over. It's falling over. A really healthy, good peak of its activity storm, you would want this to be right on top of the low. But the reason that we're still seeing such widespread scattered storms is because we do have a good angle between those fronts. It was still a pretty productive cyclone that did sweep through our area over the weekend. And in the wake of that, we are seeing newly moistened areas more able to respond to the stationary boundary right here. Oh God, my Zoom has gone crazy. I think I need to close some programs in order for this thing to calm down. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Oh, where'd you go? Come on, Radar Omega, you can do it. Well, I'm going to close that program and open it back up. Hold on. Alrighty, there we go. So that cyclone swept through. We actually had quite a bit of rain in the southern Appalachian area today where I am, as this really slow-moving cold front spurred on air mass very, very slowly creeps through the south. There's even been some power outages associated with this. Really moving along in a line all the way back here. I mean, this is just going down I-40. This is kind of, well, no, that's not the 40. That's 40. This is the 20. Should be the 30, but I don't know if that's a real thing. 70, I-70, that's the one I wanted to say. This is kind of sweeping from the I-40 area on the East Coast to the I-70 area in the Oklahoma area. So this is a really shallowly tilted storm system until you get to the mountains. Then we've got these energetic mountain winds sweeping down off the top of the mountain, really high mountains, into this cold pool of warm, like warm enough to be active, but cool enough to be denser than all the air around it, and cool enough to really wring out some moisture, air. So we've got these storms that don't really want to go very far, but are still very capable of producing rain, of condensing water in the atmosphere and getting it so large that it could rain down. Oh, it's because I'm on 250 frames. Hold on. Let me go back to like 14 frames. Maybe it'll stop freaking out. Yeah, let's load 14 frames at a time. Then you can really see that this is not going anywhere. There doesn't seem to be a good center of circulation. There's also not very much frontal movement. Like this isn't sweeping through. This is just kind of hanging out, creating, sitting, stewing in its own juices. This is a storm that is stewing and brewing. Maybe some high winds of up to 50 to 55 miles per hour and pea-sized hail near Lubbock. But we're most concerned with flash flooding events right now. And the high plains of New Mexico through the southern panhandle of Texas. Let's see. Rain rates will likely eclipse 2 inches per hour. Clusters could produce 2 to 3 inches of rain with local amounts of 5 inches, instances of flash flooding likely. And that's for this swath of mesoscale discussion. This swath of mesoscale discussion looks like we are concerned with heavy rainfall, 1 to 2 inch per hour rainfall rates, PWATs, precipitable water values of 0.7 to 0.9 inches around the 90th percentile for the date to produce an environment easily supporting this intensifying convection. Lower level moisture advection on the post-frontal easterly flow is resupplying moisture and upsloping into the terrain for further support in the environment for heavy rainfall. So yeah, what I was saying is the wet, cold air from the east is a really good, juicy bank of moisture for all of the this really active high values of CAPE in the area. And you can get these CAPE values without lots of moisture. It just won't matter much. But when you do get them in conjunction with when you get these 2000 joule per kilogram CAPE values in conjunction with some available moisture, you do still see some rain. There are chances of 2 inches in locations, but like it said, these are moisture values, precipitable water values for the area that are in the like 90th percentile for the year. There's an observed flash flood in Pueblo, Colorado. Small creeks and streams. It's that desert rain situation where all of a sudden it doesn't know how to drink it up. There's also just way too much rain falling at once for an area that doesn't usually get that much rain. I mean, we've been pretty dry. A normal amount of pretty dry in the desert this year. But as we go to Nevada, I forget which one. Nevada, is that the right one that people say? Got an isolated supercell out here near Elko. We've also got a little bit of moisture sweeping through the Yellowstone area, as well as western Montana and parts of Idaho. Now, that is a pretty clear weather, a pretty clean sanitary weather wrap up. Try to keep it technical. We did have a warning over here we had some warnings in Arkansas earlier today, but we're mostly looking at flash flood warnings in Texas and Colorado, as well as special weather statements over in South Carolina. Yeah, down here in Florence near Myrtle Beach, there is some strong thunderstorms passing through between Florence, South Carolina, down inlet. This area. This is a very large shaped bay that it's not the Pamlico. The Pamlico's up there. The one that Myrtle Beach is on, the one that Holden Beach is on. This area is getting a lot of rain right now. We made it over the Appalachian Mountains and then in through the Piedmont to start regrowing again. And yes, we do have special weather statements out here because we've got some pretty severe weather going on for the area. New cell is about to sweep through Florence, but it doesn't look very organized. Thankfully, it is about to hit a dry line, but actually, speaking of that, I want to go take a look at one of our online resources for weather. And that is, go to, I'm looking at tropical tidbits today. I don't usually go to tropical tidbits on this broadcast, but it is actually my favorite website for looking at model data. Let's see. Okay. So recently we're going back into analysis land because I don't really forecast, I analyze. You can see these high dew points have been stretching up. They were up into the plains, the Great Plains area. But these 60s and 70s dew points are sitting pretty along the entire East Coast and Gulf Coast and well inland as well. So as this convection system swept through, we saw a little bit of cool air getting sucked into it, but there still remaining extremely high dew points, especially in the Gulf Coast and Deep South areas. Then as we are going into, this is Sunday. Here we are at analysis to forecast. We are forecast to get some drier air moving in and probably a flipping. Probably that horizontal frontal system you see is going to go through cyclogenesis. But I don't really see on the pressure where that would be. Anyway, let's see our MSLP and precipitable water. That's what I want to look at. PWatt values have been, looking really low, which is why we probably don't have our extreme thunderstorms that we're usually looking at with Cape values this high. But yeah, like you can see here in random part of Kansas, and sweeping through into the storms that have now since leveled out along I-70. That's where all the moisture came from and went. It was concentrated and got smushed down. Now we are looking at a lot of dry air coming in from the north. Look at all that wind crossing our... Well, the barbs are the wind. Look at the barbs crossing the isobars. The isobars are the lines of constant pressure that you see illustrating what the atmospheric pressure is up here. And the color shading is obviously our precipitable water in the atmosphere. That gives us an idea of where it's dry and wet. Let's see if... wonder if null Earth shows our... No, it doesn't show our dew points. It just shows our relative humidity. You can really see that horizontal stretching of relative humidity right there. But let's take a look at the Western Pacific right now. Looks kind of miserable. Looks like maybe we had a naughty little storm sweep through there. Was that a typhoon? I think I'm going to have to look at Zoom Earth for that. It's a invest, but it's not. I was looking at this maybe having been is this an organized system at any point? Why is it playback slow? March through hour by hour. Maybe playback is slow because it hasn't loaded. Yeah, it doesn't really look like I can. It's not wanting to show me my analysis of weather. Well, on the satellite, it doesn't really look like a dying cyclone, so maybe it wasn't a cyclone, but we did still have some rain sweeping through there. Fortunately, India looks a little bit cooler. Kind of. Still 105 fucking degrees. Still feels like it is in the 120s up here in Uttar Pradesh, in Bangladesh and Kolkata area. But thankfully, the humidity has dropped in some of those areas. The coastal areas, like coastal Pakistan and Bangladesh and Kolkata, they're still dealing with some pretty high relative humidities. Oh, here's where I can do dew point. Okay. So this is in Fahrenheit. Can I do? Yeah. Okay. So when we get 37-degree dew points, Celsius. No, that's wet bulb temperature. Never mind. Let's go back to Fahrenheit. Extremely humid here in Kolkata, still dealing with that nasty weather. Still feels very underwatery, still feels like it would be very hard to evaporate sweat off your skin. But thankfully, the area that has since had seen the hottest of the heat wave is drying out a little. From Karachi to Terbat, we do have pretty high dew points, though, unfortunately. That looks very elevation related. So if you get the sea breeze, you are probably getting some hot sea breeze right now. As we look at our Pacific or our Atlantic Ocean, very weird how dry this is. As many people have said, we are expecting this to be an extremely active hurricane season because the sea surface temperatures are so high, but hasn't looked like things really want to progress in the area. It's the middle of June and there are no investigation areas right now. That's kind of weird. Really not understanding what's going on there other than like some capping of radiative heating by Saharan dust, but Saharan dust also is supposed to act as cloud condensation nuclei. We really should be seeing some more stuff brewing up in here. I think that our best chances this year for tornadoes are for at this point, our hurricanes look like they're more likely to form in Mexico than near Africa, which is, again, if we were expecting this to be like our 2004, 2005 hurricane seasons, we would have already seen it. But again, weather cycles have changed irreparably. Weather conditions, the climate has changed irreparably since 2004. So maybe we just are going to see different activity in different places, and it'll be hard to predict now. Anyway, that is a sad and weird, scary thought to have. So let's keep going to something we can talk about that's concrete and really happening. That is our space weather. All right. Yeah, tropical update. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not super exciting. But yeah, that's my analysis is that stuff that should be giving us crazy tropical weather is not. Uh, we did okay, so where we do have some things that look like hurricanes are on the surface of the sun. That's what sunspot regions are. They're storms on the sun's surface in its scale of media. Look at these coronal mass ejections that were launched on the 8th. Two type 4 partial halos that are just swamping, absolutely crushing it with the proton radiation storms. The salt and pepper speckly sparkly stuff that is basically wiping out the image on cactus, that is our radiation that is coming with this. So if that is any indication that these coronal mass ejections are going to make it to Earth, I think that we are going to see some serious solar storming on Earth soon. Because that is one. And then we have oh, it's raining outside. You guys can kind of hear that in the background. I did open the window so that you guys could hear the rain if you wanted to. Really lovely. Man, take a look at all that proton radiation. That's gorgeous. It's scary, but it's gorgeous. Today, the 9th, we haven't seen quite as much activity, but we're still seeing lots of protons streaming down to Earth. Let's see what that's meant on our chart of the protons. Holy crap. Our solar protons have been high. Oh wait, this isn't going to give me the full. Let's see. All right. Looking up here at our electrons, they had, we started the day at really high levels, and our protons have actually kept climbing upward throughout the day, especially in the lower kiloelectron volt levels. When we look in the mega electron volt levels that indicate whether we are at a storm condition or not, we finally got out of the S1 minor radiation storm today at about 1925 UTC. Let's see, when did the storm start though? We had some M flares, some radio events. Let's see. And yeah, 3697 is probably what is responsible for that. That is our beta gamma delta type sunspot region, which seems to have survived its trip around the sun again. Imagine a hurricane lasting a month and going around the entire world. Why can't I see the bigger report of protons though? I want to see a longer, because we're not in a storming phase right now. Let's see our longer KP index. Okay, yeah. Around June 7th, we got up to a KP index of 6. I think that is a G2 or G3 solar storm level. Yeah, let's go to, maybe I need to, oh yeah, I forgot. We do also have magnetosphere imagery to look at here from NOAA. While I've got that up and you can see the charged radiation belts around the Earth, I do want to pull up a longer data of our proton. Goes, okay, can I get, yes, 3-hour proton flux. Okay, here's what I want. Not 3-hour, 3-day proton flux. Okay. Uh, 3-hour proton flux data. So starting on June 8th, around 1:50, we had that giant coronal mass ejection that launched so much radiation. The green here is the over 100 mega electron volt power level protons. That sustained really high, well above its warning threshold. The 10 mega electron volt warning threshold is right here, and that's where our 100 mega electron volts came up to. Our 50 mega electron volt threshold is also lower than this, and it got well over our 10 mega electron volt warning threshold, and so did our actual 10 mega electron volt threshold, getting up to over 10 to the third particles per centimeter per second squared. Per centimeter squared per second per steradians. Then even for weeks. Let's see. What are the... give me the threshold. Oh, the thresholds are on this one. Yeah, I think the threshold for 50 mega electron volt is over 10 particles per, and the threshold for 100 mega electron volt is over 1 particle per. And obviously, those both got way up. Way up. A lot of proton radiation. So, take care of your thyroid right now. Take care of your throat chakra. Take care of your faster moving elements of your body, like your lymph material. Also, drink plenty of water. That is just good advice always, but especially when there is an increase in solar protons, we need to be extra aware of our gut health and hydration health. Let's see what our solar flares looked like. Oh yeah, with that June 8th, we almost got to an X flare. That was an M9.75. I'm sure that some of it read as a X flare. Yeah, I think GOES 18 probably read that as an X flare. But GOES 16 is what we have data with longer, so that's what we go with. But yeah, M9.75 flare coincident with that type 4 coronal mass ejection, partial halo or complete halo, and a proton radiation storm. Something massive was happening around the little bit after, like the evening of June 8th. Really just yesterday night, last night, there was a lot going on. So that is really interesting. And then the day before also had a lot of activity. So yeah, last night would have been going into June 9th. So the night before last night, Friday night into Saturday night, there was a lot of stuff happening. And then as we've gone through June 9th, there's been pretty calm conditions, except for we did have an M flare. We had 2 little M flares here in the 1 range. So let's now look at our planetary weather. Planetary weather, meaning astrology. Because to me, astrology is part of it. Like I said, that's part of the underlying assumptions of this channel, is that I am assuming that it is valuable to observe all of these oscillations at the same time. Okay. So, looks like right now we've got the moon at 4 degrees of Leo. Let's march back a few days to the actual new moon. Moon in Cancer throughout the past 2 days of all that extreme solar storming. Yeah, June 6th is when I last updated you. So between the 6th and 7th is when we had our official our new moon crossing the Sun and Venus, which are right next to each other, still in a conjunction, but not the exact cazimi. Meaning that for this new moon, we had 5 planets in Gemini. Very exciting. Another big new moon while we have major stelliums going on. Like I said, like the 6th consecutive one in a row where we've had really heavy emphasis on the planet where the sun is transiting. But we're starting to get out of that season into areas where the sun will be mostly doing its own show in the sign. Because we are going to leave behind Jupiter in this sign. Mercury and Venus will come with us, but because we have just had our conjunctions, they will be soon to be going into their inferior positions and separating from the sun even more, giving the sun even more time out ahead of the parade of planets. And that is what people called this alignment up in the sky. It was the parade of planets. But I kind of see a lot of things as a parade of planets. So I think that was just a catchy title, people kept saying. We had a strong Saturn square to this area where we had the new moon. Saturn in Pisces square, Gemini, Sun, and Venus. We've also got Jupiter is pretty trying to a retrograde Pluto in Aquarius. There's also Mars at 29 degrees of Aries. So when the moon crossed over from Gemini into Cancer, it did make a brief sextile to Mars at the anaretic degree of Aries. We're about to get Mars in Taurus, though. June 9th now, we are looking at, we had a 21 degree Cancer moon, and then we're back to today, and we've got the official Mars into Taurus ingress. Maybe now all the initiatory energy that we have underwent and gone through in April, in Aries season, in Mars and Aries season, maybe this can finally get put into progress, put into place, put into process in the march of Mars through Taurus. I know that Mars and Taurus is supposed to be debilitated in some way. No, that's Mars and Cancer. What am I thinking of? Mars and Taurus is supposed to be a harder placement for some people, but it is, I think, a very effective Mars placement. We've got the moon in Leo after being in its happiest sign of Cancer. So maybe not the happiest moon, but right now it is at least not as opposite to Pluto as it was. Its ingress into Leo was opposite of Pluto. Moon in Leo for the next 20 years is going to be characterized by some opposition to Pluto. So that's going to really change what Moon in Leo feels like, I think, in the grand scheme of things. Kind of messy, sinister transits going on right now. But the sun is even more exactly square to Saturn right now. Saturn itself is kind of a hard sign, and square is a hard aspect. So this could be kicking your ass, or you finally found the motivation to do something, or you feel like you just climbed 3 flights of stairs and you're like, holy shit, why did I climb 3 flights of stairs? Well, because you have a good view up here. Yeah, because now you're high up. Now you can see stuff. We do have a cradle pattern present in the sky right now. With the late feminine signs, we have Neptune in Pisces, counting this early Pluto as a late Capricorn-ish sextile and trine, to late degree of Taurus, 24 degree Taurus Uranus, and that early degree Leo, late degree Cancer sextile. This is making this basket formation we see here, as well as a T-square within that basket, balancing on 0 degrees of Taurus. And I'm very familiar with what this feels like. It feels like you're pulled in a million different directions, but you have to feel your strength in that flow in order for that basket to weave properly. Basket is only as strong as one piece of straw without the weave and the strength. So you really, even more than just a T-square alone, have to find the balance through these flowing aspects in the sextile and trine overlapping pattern of the basket in order to succeed. That is probably also really thrown off by the fact that there are so many planets. There's a stellium in Gemini right now that is completely unrelated to those things. So good luck if you don't know what it's like to have a very spread out chart. This is a very spread out chart with not very easily flowing aspects to each other. You really got to squint your eyes to look for these flowing aspects. It's mostly looking like oppositions and squares right now. So good luck. Now, there's a hole in the basket. Dear Liza. That's what a basket with a T-square in it feels like most of the time. Feels like there's a hole in this bucket, and how the hell do I use a bucket with a hole in it? Got to figure out what it's for. There are reasons that people design things that have a big hole and a small hole, and they're supposed to control flow rates. That's the real practical use of a filter. It should be a filter. Maybe it seems like you have a hole in the bucket or you have a non-watertight basket, but really that is honestly like what you use when you're panning for gold. You have to have some sort of sieve, something that can hold some stuff and just lets other stuff right through in order to glean good treasured material. This is the formation for gleaning treasure. But if you are going to deny that and think of yourself as just a faulty bucket, you're never going to feel good. You need to feel good about yourself by realizing that you have a purpose to do with this formation, and that is to hang on to some shit while letting other shit go. It takes a lot of discernment to do that, and you have to tune into the natural cycles of the universe in order to feel in your body what that means. All right, let's go to our card updates. Pretty as it's starting to rain where I am again. It's really nice to hear, but it is distracting me a bit. I kind of want to just curl up and go to bed again. It's a very valid thing to do. Don't let people try to tell you that sleeping isn't valid. If people try to tell you sleeping is invalid, they probably just want you to make money for them. So it's a bad reason to not sleep. Oh yeah. There's quite a storm sweeping through the area. Getting nice little waves of rain sprinkling here and there, soaking through. Y'all hear that in the back, I think. Oh yeah. Lots more coming. Good. That's exciting. Okay, let me get this off the screen and we can get into something we can all look at together. Let's go to the holographic tarot. Listen to this wand. I don't often find a great sounding rock, but this crystal This is a smoky quartz tipped to solid white quartz, but a very, very clear quality. Look, you can see me right through that. The clearer it is, the more pure that crystalline structure is, and that gives it this great ring. Ah, so beautiful. You even see it in my fingers on my palm where it's reflecting light through. It's gorgeous. I would like to know what these cards have to say about what's coming into the universe right now. And I'm going to share it with everyone on this stream. Yeah, maybe if you had a basket, maybe if you thought you had a basket, you wouldn't feel bad about having so many holes. If you realized, oh, and again, oh, had another jumper there. Okay. Here it is. After we drew the Two of Swords upright the other day, we've got the Two of Swords reversed now, jumping out, meaning, especially in the context of us having just drawn upright, I have a feeling that this is a decision that has now been made, I think. And we are on the other side of that, and we are, maybe this is this decision process, this gateway. That's what I got from that, is that there's a gateway like experience that we had to go through this week, and we have gone through it. And I'm getting that extra enforced because we have the world in reverse popping out with it. Now, this can be a portal, beginning or ending, representing all four fixed signs with the characters in the corners. Also representing type of transcendent magic of uniting the elements in the physical world. It's also the ultimate card in the tarot. It is the final major arcana. It is the final major arcane card, the last one in the series before we start over and go back to the Fool. So maybe a story has ended for you. Maybe that was what this decision was, is you need to learn how to end this story, or something needed to become more clear, or recently you have gotten insight into how a story will end if you make one choice or another. I think I understand from my personal life. I've been shown how a story ends if I continue down that path. I've also been shown I don't really know where another story would go if I went that way. So, quite an interesting time. Reverse cards can be seen as negative, but in this current energy and reading, I see these as just sitting with knowledge. It's also 2 and 21. I feel like this is knowledge that when you synthesize it together will make a change in your life. Something is probably coming to an end, but it's not a bad thing. You just know how that ends now, and you are like, yeah, let's end it now rather than when it gets to that point. Let's take something from the liminal space too. See if this gives us anything else today. That is, of course, the one that I always do with the ocean jasper. Oh, that's great. Card Drink Water popped out. Never really draw this one, but I see it often when shuffling. Drink water. Very funny that we pulled this card when we're talking about buckets and baskets and containers, the functions of containers, whether they should be permeable or semi-permeable containers. I'm going to drink water from a cup that's not permeable, but has a hole. Let's see. Is there an interpretation of this? Since the dawn of this planet, water has held the highly esteemed role of sustaining all life. The saying goes, if you're looking for life, look for water. The human form is made up of about 60% water. When the body loses just 5% of its total body water, negative and often painful effects begin to set in. On average, losing a rate of 2 to 3 liters of water per day, it doesn't take much for dehydration to start chipping away at the body on a cellular level. Chronic dehydration rates are at an all-time high. But remember, just because this is happening on a large scale does not mean it's normal. So please do yourself a favor and drink water. Your life literally depends on it. So, that's fun. Wow, Cloud, all I've been thinking tonight is how to end a book I've been at 3 years now. Thanks. Wow. You froze with a cloud around you. Oh, am I back now? I hope so. Hope I look cloudy. That's fun. I hope I'm making myself clear by being a cloud. Yeah. Drink water. That also will help you flush through these times of transition. Will wash out the old. I believe that is coming through as part of the rainstorm information right now is you need rain to wash away the nutrients of old done cycles into places where they will now be new blessings. Those cycles will be new blessings. Those nutrients, the things that you're done with, will be new blessings for another system. And you need to let go of that so that new blessings for your system can come in. If you keep using the same nutrients, you're just going to get worse and worse results. Okay. Now let's finish her off with a positivity card. My selenite, as always. Sounds so good. Yay. Okay, I said it wasn't an ASMR night, but it might be an ASMR night. Okay. Let's see. What is coming up through Drink Water, Two of Swords reversed, and the World reversed from the universe for all of us in this connection sphere right now? Oh, I'm not taking that many. All right. Oh, beautiful. Okay. This one says, I see this day as a positive new beginning. It's never too late to have a new beginning. Today and tomorrow can be very different from yesterday if you can let yesterday go and focus on today. Today and tomorrow are about your now vibration, and you have complete control over that. Look for things to feel good about and watch how everything in your life will unfold to reflect that good feeling vibration. So, let's drink a new glass of water. Let go of our old things. I know that implies cleaning, and I really struggle with the energy of cleaning out things, but I would like to do that. I think this is a great message. But with the person cradling the sun in their hands, just holding on to that feel good attention spot, holding on to the warmth that emanates from inside that you just like don't ever have to let go of or try to fuel. Let's let our endings be positive beginnings and feel great about what we can improve going forward. Okay, I love you guys very much. Feel free, if you are in the comments watching this back, please share what came up for you during this reading. I love you all so very much, and I do value your input. I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much, and have a great evening. Bye.